Well, welcome out there once again to my program. Always a pleasure to be here. I have some guests that have been on many times before, and when you see them, you'll understand that they are out there and they get the information on various issues. Things you're not going to hear about on a radio, things you're not going to read about in the newspaper, and sometimes even before it reaches the coffee shops. And I say the coffee shops because that's a place where you can learn a lot in the city of Fall River. But sometimes they even beat the people in the coffee shops. So, once again, welcome to my guest, Dan Robillard.
Richard,
and
nice to be here once again.
CJ.
Always a pleasure to be here, Richard.
What happened, CJ? A little bit.
Hey, I'm busy. You know, I mean, it's the holiday season. It's time to relax and, you know, kick back.
That's right.
I've got cooking all day on Christmas, so I need some time.
You set the Grinch aside?
I'm not a Grinch.
No, I'm not saying.
I'm probably the only person in Fall River going around, and no matter what happens, I turn around and I say to people, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. And people look at me and go, why is he saying Merry Christmas to me? They don't expect it out of me, I guess.
So, what's the business about the 22 windows?
Well, you know, I spoke with a couple of people in government centers today. I had to go file a marriage license. And, you know, as I hope the incoming administration and the new city councilors realize that I have a mic on every floor.
Oh.
And they have direct access to myself and to Chip Camara, and we get all the information, whether they like it or not. And they always wonder how we get it first.
Yeah.
And we may never truly know who's responsible on those 22 windows. We have a lot of finger pointing going on, but
Well,
accordingly, that went on, and there were only 3-4 people who had direct control over it. And that would have been the then mayor, Will Flanagan, then city administrator, now city council-elect, Sean Kadim.
Right.
Ken Pacheco.
Yeah.
Okay. And they say purchasing, but the purchasing agent came in kind of after the fact. So I wouldn't put it in Tim McCoy's hands. But you can point the fingers all you want, but there's no rule of thumb that we use in business and we use in politics. The buck stops here. It stops at the 6th floor desk. And a statement that was made by Will Flanagan to his administrative team was, and I got this confirmed by more than one person, was it was only supposed to be 2 windows.
And it ended up being 22.
Right. So
now, that's
did
a
somebody
stretch.
make a mistake and write 2 twice? And with all due deference to the special prosecutor, nothing was done. I mean, and
has he reported yet?
Oh yeah, the special prosecutor had already reported. Now it's in the Inspector General's office.
All right.
So, and there's no report on that yet either, and they cannot make comments on pending investigations. But the thing that bothers me more than anything else is, you know, I've received other reports that going back over 3 administrations, maybe 4 now, that there's questions about payments being made to contractors which don't bid, and that money's actually not being made as a payment, but it's being applied as a tax credit. And you know, there's a lot of information out there coming in now. It's the end of the year, so of course everyone's bringing it in because why? People are retiring. They don't think they're going to have a job January 4th, and nobody has any faith in what's going to happen. To the point that people have already approached me.
Well, let me ask you this: when a job is completed, let's say a plumber is hired because, well, they had to put that handicap bathroom in on the 1st floor, right?
Absolutely.
Job gets finished, or as the job goes along, I'm sure the contractor is going to submit some bills. Who actually receives the bill, if you know, and who will verify that the work has been completed?
The requisition for payment goes to the purchasing agent.
All right.
He has to sign off on the work was done or
okay.
contract.
Okay, that answers my question.
Right.
So when you get to the 22 windows,
There isn't a bill.
there is no bill.
Right.
There is no there was no requisition for the
And
installation
I
of the windows.
I spoke with Tim McCoy in detail about this at one point, and he said, when this investigation started, I went nuts looking for everything for Global Glass. And it started because of a bounced check to a subcontractor. And
$50,000.
Yep, and he could not find any payments made. He found 4 vendor numbers for Global Glass, with payments totaling approximately $700.
Now, how would that actually get by? We have the city administrator. We have Ken Pacheco, who's in charge of that building. You have the building inspector. I imagine he would have to be involved to issue a building permit in the building he actually works in. And then there is the city councilors, 9 of them. How is 22 windows get installed?
Well,
Dan?
does it maybe seem a little too simple to say they just didn't do the paperwork? They didn't follow the procurement process for work. That's it. It's as simple as all that.
Where was the city councilors?
Wow, they gave you the wrong name.
Where were they? Who knows?
They had to walk under that scaffolding for every meeting, so they didn't see it either.
And no inquiry as they're sitting there during a council meeting to question Ken Pacheco or to question
No, they were more
Sean-
focused on purple bags.
But I mean, I think it really is as simple as all that.
Yeah.
They didn't file the proper paperwork for the procurement process, period.
And then the question, of course, and I don't want to stretch this out too much further, how was the original contractor given the job?
Well, and that's where the big question comes in, because as we know about Global Glass and its ownership, they are in hock to the city for, I believe it's $750,000 or thereabouts.
Not sure, I know
And
quite a bit.
yeah, and number one, if you're that far in debt in back taxes, you would think the city would say, "I'm sorry, we can't give you the contract. You've got to pay off your bills first." But we don't know that, and City Hall is not forthright in coming out with the information.
There's no RFP.
There's no RFP, and this particular contract is subject to the provisions of Mass General Law 30B. There are no exceptions for them in
I
it,
can imagine, yeah.
okay? Because this guy isn't a state procurement. He's not on the state bid list. He's not a state agency. So it would have to be sent out for bids. And accordingly, I asked the question about that. If it was sent out for bids, where would it be? He says, you know what? If I'm sending bids out for janitorial supplies, paper towels, they mail them in. When it's a job for construction, for work like that,
Those are sealed bids.
they're in the office when they open those bids,
Yep.
all of them.
Well, isn't it over a certain amount of money, the bid has to be, in other words, they have to go off a bid, and the bid has to come in, and they have to be sealed, and they
Right.
open them
I
up in
believe
public.
it's $10,000.
And the thing is, and which really makes me laugh is, in this audit done on the city, that was read at the city council meeting, one of the big red flags in there was that we don't file procurement laws. Well, is that a surprise to anybody?
Okay, let's, I got a little hint of it during the week, and maybe you got some more information about it. The King Philip Mill, $1 million to take the stack down?
Yes. And you're ready?
What is that, one brick at a time?
And it gets better. Do you know why?
$1 million?
Yeah, but you know why?
They had a figure of $250,000, which a lot of people thought was ridiculous.
Right.
And one contractor told me he could take it down for 60.
Right.
And where is this 1 million coming from?
Well, here's the funny part about it. They took CPA money, your tax dollars, Community Preservation Act money, that 1%, 2% that's on your tax bill, $100,000 plus to do a study to determine what the hole in the chimney was.
Well, it's at the bottom of the chimney. It's one of these, most chimneys have a clean out door. It's just
Bingo.
common practice. And look,
And we paid
if-
somebody
if-
$100,000 to tell us it's a door.
if the door is missing because they removed it for scrap metal, all right, what do? You can brick it up, you can put some blocks, you can shore it up. There are a lot of, you can put some steel, a foundation, a footing and then put steel girders, it probably be stronger than
Than the rest of the
yeah.
chimney.
So where is this $1 million figure coming from?
Well, that's what the guy who did the study, who got paid $100,000 to do the study, said. It's going to cost $1 million to take it down. And granted,
All right, so this is a joke.
thank you.
It's gotta be a joke.
Thank you. It's like $40,000 for the charter commission consultant.
Well,
Okay, it's to keep people who are politically connected, who are friends with members on the CPA. Yes, I'm calling you out, CPA commissioners, in business. $10,000 to do a study to designate the historic districts of Fall River. We already have those designated by ordinance.
Yep.
Why do we need another study? Oh, well, because he needs some work. He hasn't worked in a year.
You think that CPA,
why? Because you got the Historical Commission, CPA, Preservation Commission. All of these people don't want to see, they're the tree huggers of the city.
Right.
They don't want to see anything down, anything going away, just perseverance and spending taxpayers' money.
do you think
in the
CPA is going to be
process.
approved the next time around?
I hope not.
I hope not. And
I hope not.
And I know that we've already been approached to put together a campaign to strike it down. So,
I know, and
I mean, an air conditioner, $192,000.
right. Hey.
Giving public money
Because
to
that's Jack Sprague's wife. That's why they got that.
giving private money
for a building they don't own.
Right, and they don't own that building.
and giving
Correct.
money to public money to a private owner of a building, the Abbey Grill.
Yep.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this now. There's another controversy that's swirling in the city, and maybe it's slightly connected to the. I'm not going to say it's connected to the CPA, but then again, you never know. It's the Historic Commission. Now they have basically taken court action against a private owner of the
On
building
Highland Avenue.
who actually got a demolition permit from the building inspector to remove the building, take it down, and a historic commission has objected and taken it to court. What do you make of that, Dan?
What I make of it is what I just said. It's like all these groups are tied, okay? That all they do, we get accused of being obstructionists, naysayers. Look at the history of these groups. Have they ever supported anything worthwhile? My answer is no.
So if you have a very elegant old building, has some historic value, do you want it listed as a historic structure?
Well, and
in
it's not
Fall
only
River?
that. Even if
No,
you don't get
what I'm
listed,
getting at, are you losing some rights?
you lose a lot of rights.
So
everything.
why
And
go?
here's-
Why bother with that?
And here's another caveat in it. This historic commission has designated other properties in the city, like the Me Some. Remember the old Me Some restaurant? Not Me Some. Mock You restaurant. Dragon, up the Flint used to be on the restaurant. They designated that marquee.
Do they get permission?
Yeah, they're guaranteed under the law to do that. They designated it as
No. Do they get the owner's
No.
permit? Well,
And they designated it. They designated it as historically
is that,
significant.
isn't that like eminent domain?
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking a property right from someone. Are they compensated for that?
No, but they can't make changes to it. So we go by your house and we say, this is historically significant. We're going to say it's a historically significant place.
So you found out.
Okay, and that's where the slave trade was run out of, I think, back in the 1800s. It was either that or the railroad trade, one or the other. But they declare it that, and it has some historical significance, and all of a sudden you can't touch it. You can't make any changes to it, and you don't have the right to do it. And the property that they're talking about is an old rest home. That's the old Rosewood Rest Home on Highland Avenue.
On Highland Avenue, okay.
And I was an administrator for that facility years ago when I worked for the nursing home company that owned it. And the building was dilapidated then. And we were trying to do some repairs to
So
make sure it passed.
what is the, if you know, I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody on a spot, but what is the significance of their argument? What is the basis of their argument? If it's an old building, sure, we have a lot of old buildings in the city of Fall River.
A lot of them need to be
Matter of fact,
demolished.
80-90% are probably old. Now, what is the significance of that building there?
Not in my backyard. He wants to take that down.
The old NIMBY.
Yep, and that's Fall River. Okay, because the people on this historic commission all live in that area.
And they don't want what?
They don't want whatever this doctor's going to put there.
Well, he's going to put a facility, a medical facility.
Exactly, and they don't want that. They want
okay,
quiet and peaceful.
we have zoning.
Right.
If zoning allows for it,
And they will, because it was already a medical facility.
well, you look at the zoning, you look at the book, and it tells you the different districts, residential here, industrial there, and it pretty much holds.
You know how much
So-
screaming they did when across the street was converted? Because across the street from that building is another supposed historically significant place. I don't know, was it a nunnery or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and they turned around and they fought them on making that a doctor's office. It's now an OBGYN center.
Okay, let's move along here. And superintendent's leaving or left?
Leaving on a jet plane.
When is she?
She will be going to Barnstable, and she will be exiting Fall River as of July 1, 2016.
Okay, July.
Having a 4-year contract with a starting salary of a whopping $200,000.
So she's not going to be leaving until July.
No, she's going to complete her contract.
She will complete her contract. Her new contract takes effect July 1, 2016. 4 years for $200,000 per year.
And then at the end of that, she'll retire.
For a school district that has approximately half the number of students as Fall River.
So I imagine that's the reason she jumped for that job.
Positively.
200,000
Not only
plus
that, but the fact that
less work.
Not only that, but the fact that the school committee didn't act at their last meeting on even offering her a contract. And then the new mayor-elect had a phone conversation with her, and according to his own words, he said, the ball is in your court.
Okay.
He wasn't happy with school performance, which nobody is, except for Rob Mellion and the Chamber of Commerce, and Melissa Panchley, Paul Hart,
And Bob Maynard.
Bob Maynard, and Mark Costa. They're the only ones happy with it. And what I love about this whole thing is that they wouldn't do anything because they were actually, I firmly believe they were afraid to, because the city, the voters, don't want her. They don't
Okay,
want her.
When you say the voters, but they never vote on us.
No, but the voters changed the school committee on them. You now have a 4-2 split. You have Gabe Andrade, Joe Martins, Ed Costa, and Paul Coogan, who all are against the other two left on the committee.
And the other two.
And even with the mayor's
and you're
vote.
saying the other two wanted to keep the superintendent.
Right, and that's why
and
that
this
email-
four are not for keeping or
Oh yeah,
neutral.
they were already against her coming on board.
Publicly.
It's somewhat interesting, CJ, because while Dr. Costa, Ed Costa, has past experience in the school system, Paul Coogan, school committee man-elect Paul Coogan, has just retired from the system and worked directly with Megan as part of the administration.
Right.
So you know, I find his lack of support for her much more interesting than even Dr. Costa.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because on Friday of last week, I saw Ed Costa and Melissa Panchley having coffee at a local establishment not too far here from the studio. And I sent him a text message and I said, hope she's not trying to have you go over to the dark side. I figured, hey, Star Wars was coming out. It was appropriate. About, it looks like about 25, 30 minutes later, he texted me and said, we aired our disagreements and got everything on the table. Nobody changed opinions. But in my business, I prefer honesty to people who say one thing privately and another thing publicly. And, you know, that shows a lot for Ed Costa, that, you know what? He's going to lay it on the table. You don't like it, you don't like it. But I'm not going to change my opinions here with you and then say something different out in public. I'm going to say the same now and forever.
That's correct.
Okay, the city council.
Bye-bye Pat Casey, bye-bye Leo Pelletier, bye-bye Dan Rigo, bye-bye mayoral-elect Jazio Correa.
And bye-bye Mike Mayoza.
You say that with a lot of gusto.
Well, you know, when he puts his hand on the Bible, takes the oath of office, and then I'll begin to hold him accountable. But not much could be worse than Sutter.
But you know, the
Okay,
thing is though about the incoming people,
Yeah.
they are pompous, elitist, egotistical, cocksure people. And I don't like that about them, okay? They sat there in front of the news cameras, had pictures taken while they were deciding to elect Sean Kadim to the city council presidency. And they did that at the Cove restaurant. When I confronted them with that, and I said to them, I said, look, I said, if you do things like that, that's a 30A violation. I said, and we will file the complaints against you.
open meeting law?
Right, and they turned around, and Cliff Pont turned around and said, and Pam La Liberté LeBeau confirmed it. She goes, we checked with the Attorney General. We're not sworn in yet. We can do this, and it's not a violation of the law. No,
Well-
but you want to know something? If you get somebody like me or Patrick Higgins who want to hold you to the fire, I could say that was a conspiracy to change the election. Because
All right.
you conspired to elect Sean Kadim president before you were even in office. And to top it all off, now that he's being elected president, there may now exist a direct conflict with his job in Seekonk. Further, I'm sure the Seekonk administrators would love to know about this, the Seekonk selectmen. It has been reported that FedEx was told by Sean Kadim to consider Fall River because Amazon was coming here. Now, he's the Seekonk town administrator. Now, once I get all the documentation on it, and you know I'm going to get it, because I've already requested it from FedEx, okay, I'm going to publish it.
So
But even the rumor that happened, this is what we were talking
All
about.
right, you're saying that, in other words, he and it's a rumor, this is alleged. that
Right,
he-
it's alleged at this point in time.
Encouraging a competitor to come into town.
Exactly, and this is one of the things we've been talking about.
Well, okay, so Sean Kadim, has the election taken place yet?
No.
No.
All right,
The
so-
election takes place at the day of the inauguration.
All right, so that's what, January?
January 4th.
All right,
And it will be broadcast live here on Channel 95 and on Channel 18 as well.
okay,
on
but
Comcast
it
system.
looks pretty certain that Kadim,
Yep, and Linda Pereira sold out her soul to the devil just to be a vice president, just to stick it up Joe Camara's backside. And you know that was a vendetta.
well, I mean, obviously that you have a new school committee, basically, new city council, and a new mayor. Now, the big question people are asking, how long is it going to take for the city to, you might say, get on the proper track? Because there's going to be time that they'll need to learn their respective jobs.
Well, I have a projection. I'm going to be a prognosticator here. I believe, because again, I believe that Sean Kadim is going to run for mayor in 2018.
That soon?
Yes.
I would
And-
agree.
And I believe
Based on what, Dan?
Based on what?
Yeah.
8,000 votes.
Based on the fact that he got 8,000 votes, and based on the fact that within Jason Correa's first budget, if he doesn't repeal the $10 fee, I think he's going to have one hell of a hard time getting reelected.
And I
In
think
other
he needs to
words-
repeal the purple bags too, because people are not going to let it go. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But
How about, he did say that he was going to take a pay cut?
he said he's going to take $30,000 pay cut, which technically, I mean, it's in ordinance, so I don't know what's going to happen with the $30,000. But
He'll probably give
Well,
it
he
to
can-
charity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, that's right.
if he wants to give it to charity, I know a couple off the top of my
Well,
head. But the thing is that with that happening, we can look back in history not that long ago when you had 4 city councilors who made sure they put a kibosh, actually it was more like 5, who put a kibosh on everything proposed by the mayor. And that was Will Flanagan. And that was Dan, Linda, Ray, and Mike Mayoza. Everything proposed by the mayor died. It died. And they did not let anything go through. I have suspicion that with these 5 already joining their alignment, that you're going to see something similar happen again. Because they've already got the majority vote. They got 5.
Well, but which way will they go?
I think that they'll go against the mayor. They need to make this mayor look bad
Why?
because they don't want this guy as mayor.
And who do they want?
City
Sean
council
Kadim?
president.
Because they met with Sean Kadim and they want
Again,
to
this
be
is
the first.
this is just a prediction.
That's
And-
okay. We
And I'm
we
pretty good.
appreciate
I'm pretty good at these
Yeah,
predictions.
we're getting close to that.
Yeah.
That point in
Yeah.
the show when I do ask for
I know.
predictions.
But I firmly believe, because you have to make Sean look as good as possible, okay? And you have to make Jazel look as bad as possible.
And furthermore, Richard, when's the last time you saw a guy that hasn't even taken his council seat ascending to the presidency?
Freshman city council presidency, there is something afoot here in Fall River, okay?
That almost never happens.
That never happens, exactly.
Well, apparently, or it looks like it's going to happen. And but he has the experience. I mean, as a city councilor.
He's never been a city councilor.
He's never been a city councilor.
Oh, okay.
He was a school committee man.
Oh yeah. All right. Then he
a
became.
former city administrator and a finance subcommittee chairman of the school committee.
Right.
That's his experience.
And prior to all that, he worked for Raytheon, I believe.
I believe it was General Dynamics.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when he became the city administrator, we had a panel that very day that he was
Right.
announced, and I said it was probably one of the worst appointments Will Flanagan ever made.
And the problem is that the city forgets.
Well, let's haunt him. Let's go back to the 22 windows.
Yep.
It was as the city council, come 2016, is sitting. Will there be people who will approach the councilors in the 3-minute allotted for citizen input and broach this subject? Basically, an open subject, hypothetical or open subject or inquiry as to what has happened to the 22 windows, and maybe the president could answer this.
I predict you're going to see a rules change
Yep.
in the council regarding citizen input, and we're going to go back to the days of Mike Lund, whereby citizen input will be restricted to agenda items.
Right.
That's my prediction.
To agenda items.
To agenda, and that's what the school department does.
Yep.
And to be honest,
So no slip of the tongue.
right.
No, you go up there and you
You've
address.
got to talk about what they're discussing that night.
All right. So if it's
Which I thi-
if
which
it's
I
on
think
the
is
on the
ludicrous.
if it's on the agenda,
You can
but
talk about it.
but you have a slip of the tongue.
You could, they'd gavel you.
Bye-bye. But this is the thing.
All right.
We've got to shut the voice of the people down.
We're down at the end of the program, and time for predictions. You want to reiterate what you just?
Yeah, I firmly believe that you are going to
quickly.
see a conspiracy amongst the city council, amongst those 5, where they're going to vote together regularly without coming against it, and nothing will happen.
Against the mayor's wishes.
Exactly.
Rules change in the city council regarding citizen input, thereby taking away some of the uniqueness of the city council.
There you have it. Two solid, in a way, predictions. I know predictions are not solid to that extent that I mentioned, but 2 predictions from the panelists. So keep them in mind. Keep your scorecard out. And I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry
That's it.
Christmas. Have a great day, because you'll be watching this on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and
Hopefully you'll
we'll
watch
be
this
back
on
next
Christmas
week. New Year's Eve will be, not New Year's Eve, but
Day
we'll be
before.
back day before, so you can watch on New Year's Eve, actually.
Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay.